After 12 years of waiting for a sequel to Skyrim, the time has actually come to return to Bethesda Games universe.
But what is this?
Where are the swords? Where are the spells? Where is the horse armor? Todd, you madman, you lied to us. But don't worry, we took what you said literally, so we'll try to make the experience as close to Skyrim as we can. We opened the relic box, retrieved the OG 360 controller, dust it off, and start our journey. So in this video, we are gonna play Starfield like it was promised to us, and try to beat it without shooting any guns.
Minus the space fights. They forced us to do it.
The game starts with us descending into a cave in order to mine some space rocks.
They're minerals!
Our supervisor forces us to pick out the first weapon in the game and directs us to a deposit. We try to hit it 1000 times to see if it breaks, but unfortunately, apparently in the future, you can only mine minerals with lasers. Someone should have told these poor bastards to stop mining with the wrong tools. Forced by the game, we push the right trigger to obtain these sweet resources, but we do not consider this shooting.
No one was hurt or injured during the excavation.
For our next task, we descend further into the earth and discover a gravitational anomaly, which makes all the rocks float around. With our pew-pew gun, we shoot the debris surrounding it and get transported to the best trip you'll ever have the chance to experience. Because of that information, we lose our consciousness and wake up several hours later in a hospital bed, surrounded by worried colleagues. It is here where we create our character. For this video, we chose to go with Snail, a lovely Ronin with dueling, stealth, and scavenging skills, famous around the galaxy, followed by her adoring fan.
Nice throwback to Oblivion.
We wake up from our bed and go outside to find ourselves on the surface of a moon. Soon after, a dude called Barrett lands a spaceship nearby. He has come for the artifact we just recovered, but before doing the trade, a bunch of space bandits descend and attack the base. We hurry to their spaceship and wait for the door to open. We hurry inside and try to apply as many blunt hits as we can, but apparently, laser beats rock, so we are forced to retreat and heal ourselves. While retreating, we strike gold and a bandit using a melee weapon charges at us. It's on. Now the challenge actually begins. No bullets or shooting needed. With the axe at hand, we easily dispatch the rest of the bandits and save our station. After hearing about our vision from earlier, Barrett tells us we are some sort of chosen one and gives us his watch.
Very smooth, Bethesda.
He also gives us his ship, the Frontier, making us the captain. He tells us to reach his mates called the Constellation and let them know about the artifact we just found. We lift off and enter the last bit of the tutorial, the bane of this challenge, where the game forces us to engage in a dogfight with some other spacecraft. After taking it down, we found out that this is a pirate organization and they won't stop at anything until they get us. So instead of waiting, we have to take the initiative and go to them. We land on a moon where they have a hideout and proceed to cut a path through their fodder. Until now, the game is pretty easy and just a few hits to each mob allows us to advance. At the end of the dungeon, we find a boss and discover that this game has a persuade mechanic and we actually convince their leader to back off. With that whole problem sorted out, the tutorial is over and we proceed with our mission and head to New Atlantis to report to Barrett's friends. Apparently, these guys are a group of diverse explorers trying to expand humanity's knowledge about the universe, and being that we are playing as a ninja and they are missing one, they happily allow us to join. Putting the artifact on the table, we discover it is actually an unknown MacGuffin and get brief on what the game is all about. So our mission from now on will be to retrieve all component parts of these artifacts and put them together. The first mission is to retrieve a piece from someone who is in the Marines. Sarah joins as a companion and we start the quest by inquiring in the city about said Marine. We go to their headquarters and are invited to join, but refuse. Our way is the way of the sword, and the Marine life does not suit us.
I guess this is Bethesda's way to introduce factions into the game.
Back on the topic, we find out that the Marine frequently visits a bar on Mars, so we hurry to the Total Recall movie set and try to find some leads on him. The bartender has some info, but he refuses to part with them without an incentive. But don't worry, Snail has only one thing sharper than her blade, and that is her tongue.
God, I love this new persuade mechanic.
We persuade him and get the required info. So far so good, the challenge is going smoothly as we do not require to fight until this point. This changes however when we go to retrieve the marine from his infested ship. No worries though, the axe still proves its worth and we can merely hack and slash through the ship until we find the wounded soldier. The second puzzle piece is ours and we can return it to our main base where we place it on the table universe mapinator contraption. Sarah congratulates us and gives us 3 more missions in order to advance. We either retrieve Barrett, talk to Sam Coe, the cowboy from our group, or go see Vladimir, our Russian scout. We chose to retrieve Barrett and return to Vectera, the moon where it all started. Here we find out that our colleague from the lodge has been captured by some faction of space pirates. The only way to find his location is to repair the computer on the base and supply it with batteries. We actually lose an embarrassing amount of time just going around the base to search for those batteries, but ultimately we succeed and power the bloody machine. There we find his last known location and hurry after him. When we reach that location, we find out that there was some kind of accident and Barrett is in another castle, but fortunately we also find a former miner colleague that we can save. From another transmission, we find, hopefully, that this indeed will be Barrett's location. We go to Basel 3 and find the bandit base. These guys are a little bit over-leveled, but we manage to pick them one by one. The boss outside even provides us with our first weapon upgrade and we get the amazing spaceship. The fights need some getting used to as the bandits just use their backpack to distance themselves and sometimes it's difficult just to get close and land a melee hit. But victory favors the stubborn and at the end we finish all the goons. With all the mobs dispatched, we enter the base and again use our fine-cut tongue to convince Barrett's captor to let us leave unharmed. At this point, the persuade mechanic is just plain silly. We kill the vast majority of his men and just sweet-talked our way out of this. No complaining from it though. More successful persuasion, less awkward samurai combat. With Barrett safe, we return to the lodge and follow our next tip on the artifacts with Sam Coe. We go speak to the space cowboy and find out our next mission is on his home planet of Aquila City. We have some leads on another gravitational anomaly. Before leaving the city, we go and find a merchant and sell all our current wares and try to see if they have a better weapon. Success! They have one and we buy it. Here is where we also find our adoring fan that traveled all the way from Cyrodiil in order to find us. We recruit him and continue to our destination. We jump into our spaceship and set a course. Apparently, an old-styled Wild West city really exists among the stars.
Funny how in the far future people are still into this.
On Aquila, we find out that the map that has the coordinates to the mine where the artifact is located is stored in the vault of the local bank. Unfortunately, like in the Wild West, the bank is currently being robbed by some good-for-nothing gang. Don't fret though, slippery tongue Snail is here and ready to defuse the situation. Now for real, the persuasion mechanic is broken in this game. You can literally solve almost any problem by talking your way out of things. To make the video more fun, take a shot every time we win a persuasion check. And if by the end of the video you're tipsy, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. With the bandits out, we enter the vault and find out that the map has been taken by somebody else. Sam refuses to say who, but we persuade him otherwise. The thief is his father, and we hurry to his mansion to confront him. He does not want to give us the map, but again, persuasion check, and the map is ours. Reading the map, we find out that the artifact is hidden just yonder to the closest hill to the city.
Like really, in a game this big with planets and shit, the map just points us to the closest hill.
No matter, we go to that location, taking in all the beautiful fauna along the way. Getting to the valley between the hills, we jump in the camp and go into the cave. Now, this is the easiest strategy when it comes to killing large amounts of bandits. Just take them into a different game cell and as they follow you inside, just pick them one by one. Big brain moves for big brain times. We destroy all our foes and get to a locked door. Now I take this opportunity to say that I actually love the lockpicking mechanic. This is a huge innovation from old Skyrim pattern. Here we have a choice in order to advance. Either we pick the lock or, and now follow me, be ready for this, or we just jump over the little fence just next to it.
Write that down, write that down!
We chose the smarter option and broke the lock in order to advance. Continuing our way inside, we find the next piece of the artifact at the bottom of the cave. With this at hand, we return to the entrance and find ourselves surrounded by enemies from all sides. But what should we do now? How can we get out of this? Is this the end? Never give up! So we just asked the lady politely to let us go and she happily obliged. One more artifact in our hands and back to the lodge. Next on the list is to visit our Russian friend Vladimir. My editor disagrees with me on the accent of this bloke, but he sounds really Russian to me.
We got a rook on deck. Good to see Constellation getting some fresh blood.
What do you think? Leave a comment below. First on the list is to go to Mira and retrieve another piece of the Galaxy Mapinator. Here we commit massive genocide on the local wildlife, stabbing them with our pointy end. The trail gets us to a cave in which we find the stupidest gear somebody could think of. An epic knife that gives bonus damage only in space. We go further and we retrieve a piece of the artifact, and that is all she wrote for this planet. Until now, the challenge is going pretty well. Not too many combat encounters, and those that happen are manageable to say the least. After all this, we go to Sumati and find some lady named Andrea and help her with her mission of retrieving another piece of the MacGuffin. Now, I really like this companion. Curious if we can romance her, but that will be for another video altogether. Or for some alone me time, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, boy.
She joins as a companion and we delve deeper and deeper, dispatching all the space cultists along the way. This faction apparently believes in some kind of world snake eater Norse mythology kind of religion. However, the blade does not discriminate and equally cuts believer or hidden. As trained until now, the end of the cave rewards us yet with another metal piece. With all this in hand, we return to New Atlantis to put them all together. The guys there send us again to Vladimir, who has found a new location. It was at this point where I grew a bit tired and worried that all the main missions will be just retrieving artifacts from X cave, rinse and repeat until the thingy is complete. However, on the next mission we actually find something cool. We go to the designated place and find an ancient civilization temple that activates when we enter. Gravity was absent in this place, and by going from light to light, some Hans Zimmer sound effects started to sound louder and louder until the contraption from the center of the room activated and gave us some force powers.
Come on, Starfield, you give us the force, but no lightsabers.
The pace starts to pick up after this mission as the next one sends us to the planet Foley in the Neon City to establish a purchase of an artifact between our rich old member of Constellation with an unknown buyer. Now out of the lot, this mission is the best so far. We go to the city and meet Walter's wife, who asks us to take some precautionary measures for the meeting exchange. The next part reminds me a little bit of Deus Ex with all the info gathering, bribing and hacking. Plus, we have the superb cyberpunk aesthetics. Now, get your favorite drink and prepare for the next marathon. We persuade the local shopkeeper to tell us the seller's whereabouts. We lower the price of bribing the bodyguard at the club where the meeting takes place. After the meetings, some goon threatens us, but we convince him otherwise. We go to the one who sent the goon and convince his secretaries to let us in. We are trapped and almost killed by the guy who sent the goon, plus we murder all his employees, and when we meet him, we convince him to become a buddy-buddy. Persuasion is the thing that gets you laid. With the piece on hand, we try to return to our lodge, but a strange ship appears and cuts our path. We evade the UFO and return to our base, putting one more piece to the puzzle. The next two missions are basic fetch quests that send us to Gunibu 7 and Altair 4. These quests are really simple and just requires us to visit planets, enter the bases, kill amounts of enemies, and use the stabby trademark technique. I don't know if the enemies scale with our level, but it is still easy to dispatch them and push forward. The only notable difference is that now, at every end of the dungeon, we have a new type of boss NPC that attacks us before getting our paws on the artifact. They are harder to beat, but still manageable. With the last two pieces retrieved, we are sent by Vladimir to retrieve the last one from the collector. You know, that guy from the Marvel movie. The novelty of this mission that sets it apart from all the other simple fetch quests is that on this spaceship, you don't just go stabby, you actually persuade them to let you in, you go through the whole ship through his guards to meet meet the collector, you persuade him to show you the item, and only after you stabby your way out.
See, it was an inversion of the story.
Apparently, our last stunt did not go well with the Trader Association, or something like that, and we are booked by the Space Police. The commander of the force blackmailed us into joining the ranks and going undercover in some criminal organization. We agree, because we literally cannot force our way out of this conundrum on the first playthrough. But we lied to him.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
After we are released, we return to our base and find it's under attack. Until now, the video did not require to employ a spoiler warning. Everything we discuss was on the low end of the spoiler spectrum, but moving forward, it's hard to talk about the playthrough without spoiling the story in a major way. And being that the game just came out, consider yourself warned. So the base is under attack by some advanced dude called the Hunter. Here, we were forced to make a choice: defend our base or go and protect the Constellation satellite. We chose to protect our base, but are still too weak to stab the Hunter to death, and we are forced to flee. We join our team and run through the city in order to escape. Having done all this, the Hunter relents and lets us go. However, the damage was already done, and by checking the satellite, our good friend the cowboy is found lying dead. Goodbye, dear space cowboy. With the crisis done, we return to the lodge where another member of the group with the name Matteo points us to the next objective. We need to find this guy called the Pilgrim. The next mission does not involve any combat, and is, let's just say, a detective mission. We need to speak to some priest, then hear a story about the Pilgrim from two perspectives. Put one and one together and piece together the real truth. Now, being a Bethesda game, we do not really have to do all this. We just need to go from one point to another, talk to the involved parties, and then return to the priest, and he'll do the piecing together for you with some spectacular mental gymnastics. You really need to hear it to believe it.
Can't wait to find out the community's opinion on this one.
With the info in our pocket, we find the Pilgrim's home. This leads us to another set of coordinates where we find the UFO that attacked us earlier. On the ship, we find the Hunter from before and some guy called the Emissary that is actually Sam the cowboy from another universe. Now we get the full story. The MacGuffin we were building is a doorway to the center of the universe,
Or something like that.
and whoever gets there gets to be reborn as a Starborn in another universe, in which again they try to build that door and get to the center, because every time they succeed they become stronger and stronger. The Emissary and the Hunter are portrayed as opposing forces, one for good that wants to protect the universe, and one for evil that wants whatever is better for him.
However, I can't but consider the Emissary an hypocrite and find solid arguments in the Hunter's words.
Regardless, before choosing a side, they both point us to another piece of the gateway situated on Earth, where we find out how humanity learned interplanetary travel and the price they had to pay for it. After hearing the truth, Starborn attack us, and this is actually where the playthrough gets difficult. They are a beast to kill and just keep coming after you. With a couple of medkits and a little bit of running away, we eventually get out of the base. It is here where we are made to choose between the Emissary and the Hunter. But as I said, I don't really like the Emissary's way of thinking, so I go for the Hunter. Having chosen a side, we return to the lodge and tell our team about what we found. They continue to help us retrieve the last two artifacts. One is just a simple fetch quest, go there, retrieve that, but the other one is a little more of a standout, in which we need to go into a laboratory and travel between two alternative universes to solve a puzzle. Sort of like Soul River 2, if somebody watching actually remembers that. I really liked this quest, but at the end it overstayed its welcome. Talking about the challenge, this was actually the hardest point in the playthrough. Both universes are littered with really strong mobs, and by the end of the dungeon I ran out of medkits and I just ran through them to advance the mission. It was feasible, but just barely at the current level and with what we had on us. However, we succeeded and retrieved the last pieces of the puzzle. With all the artifacts acquired, we get to the location of the final temple and proceed to advance to it. We are greeted by a fleet of Starborn, but with the Hunter on our side, we manage to destroy it and safely land on the planet. At this point, we have 4 points invested in Duelist, so we get back 10% of health on each kill we make. This makes this final part a breeze, and we just power through it without the help of the Hunter. We use stabby and dispose of all the Starborn trying to stop us and reach the final room, where we open the door and see the true meaning of unity. But that is for you to discover, Explorer, and not for me to spoil. Follow your own journey and reach your own conclusion.
Stop right there, criminal scum!
If you like this video, see you in the next one. More Starfield challenges coming up.